I want to preface this video by saying I'm outside, lots of airplanes, buses. I live in Brooklyn, so I'm outside. You're going to hear that. That's going to be a part of my video, okay? So just wanted to tell you that. If you're new here, I am a colorectal cancer survivor. I had ulcerative colitis since my teenage years, and I had it for many, many years until pretty much around my 40th birthday. I was diagnosed with colorectal cancer. So I had ulcerative colitis for 20 plus years, and it ended up breeding cancer cells. I think my ulcerative colitis was poorly managed, but what can I do? I was on and off steroids throughout my ulcerative colitis journey, but now I have no ulcerative colitis, and I'm cancer free because I no longer have a colon. So let's start out with what is a proctocolectomy. So a proctocolectomy is a surgery where they remove all of your colon, your rectum, and usually part of your anus, or your entire anus. The hole is closed up down there, basically. So that's what I had to do. And this was the last part of my colorectal cancer treatment. I've been through radiation, chemotherapy, and the last thing I had to do was my proctocolectomy. So a month after my chemotherapy, my chemotherapy ended on January 6th, and my surgery day was February 6th. So exactly a month after my chemotherapy, exactly a month after chemotherapy, I did my surgery. The day before my surgery, I had to do a colon prep. So my prep was very similar to when you have to take a colonoscopy. You have to drink that gallon of solution, take Dulcolax, and take antibiotics. I had an issue with the antibiotics. My body doesn't do well with antibiotics, so I developed a fever when I was taking the antibiotics. And I was supposed to take an antibiotic right before I went to sleep that night, but I didn't because I didn't want to make my fever worse. I told my doctor about that the day of my surgery, and he was like, "Oh, it's okay." But otherwise, the prep was fine. And that morning after my prep, I had to be at the hospital at 6 a.m., I think. So early, and it was an hour away. So I woke up at like 4:30 a.m., left at 5, got there at 6, very early. I got up that morning. I was able to meet my sister there. She stayed with me the entire time, from going to the hospital to my whole hospital stay. So that was wonderful. So I was to get an ileostomy. Some people get a colostomy. So let me tell you the difference. So an ileostomy involves the small intestines. So my stoma was created at the bottom of my small intestines, since my large intestines, my colon, was going to be taken out completely. For a colostomy, part of your large intestine is taken out, and your stoma is created from a part of your large intestine. And an ostomy just involves both of them. So an ostomy is an ileostomy or a colostomy. But the main difference is whether your stoma is going to be attached to your small intestines or part of your large intestine. And usually with an ileostomy, your output is more liquefied. It has more liquid because your large intestine absorbs water. And so with a colostomy, your output is thicker because your large intestines does its job and absorbs the water out of the output. So that's why it's thicker. Since I don't have a colon, my output will be watery because my colon isn't there to absorb the water. So everything went well. I was given anesthesia. I was put under. They said the surgery would last a few hours. But in my case, there were some complications. So they were able to take out my colon, my rectum, my anus. But during the surgery, I started to get a pelvic bleed, and they didn't know exactly where I was bleeding from in my pelvic area. So they took a few hours to find where the bleed was, which they eventually did. But they woke me up before stopping the bleed to, I guess, help me rest. And they had to give me blood transfusions because my hemoglobin was dropping because I was bleeding in my pelvic area. So I guess they woke me up, but I wasn't really up. I was very groggy. I just remember seeing my doctors there. They were trying to explain what was going on. But I was like, whatever, let's go. I mentally prepared for that surgery. So I was happy that they were able to take the infected part of my body out of my body. So they were able to go back in, stop the bleeding, and then finally I was woken up to recover. And that was about, I think it was over 24 hours. I always get this part wrong. I always have to ask my sister because I was totally out of it. But I remember saying daylight, night, I don't know. I think it was over 24 hours. So I went in February 6th, and I didn't really wake up for recovery. Was it September 7th at night? I don't know. I don't remember the days. Anyway, I was in the hospital from February 6th, 2024, and I was discharged February 11th, 2024. So, a few days in the hospital recovering. I remember having to walk the day after my surgery. So that morning, the physical therapist came in telling me to get my butt up in a nice way, in a professional way. So I did. I scooted around my room to sit in the chair that was in there. I know a few days, the day after, I was able to walk in the hall with my physical therapist. But I thought it was pretty okay. I wasn't in too much pain because I was on painkillers. I was on Dilaudid through the IV. I was able to get oxycodone. And I was on Tylenol and some pain relaxer and some muscle relaxers. So combination of those four, not all at the same time, but those were given to me to manage my pain. And I was able to get a Dilaudid drip. So every 6 minutes, I was able to press a button and administer Dilaudid through my veins to help with pain, which it was good, but I would always get nauseous a little bit right when I pressed the button. For about 5 minutes, I didn't feel well, but then it started to settle and I was fine. And then every time I pressed that button, I felt that same way. But I didn't press it every 6 minutes, but I did press it, I would say, with every half hour. But the worst part about recovery, especially in the hospital, I would wake up like I felt like I was hit by a truck. It felt so bad. My whole body ached. And when the nurse would come in and say my level of my pain, like from 1 to 10, I don't know how I found this out, but one of the nurses said, if I say something lower than 7, they'll cut the dose in half. So after I heard that, I kept saying 7 or more because I was in so much pain. But I really was. But I remember getting half the dose one time. I think I said My pain level was 6 at one time, and they gave me half the dose, and that did not do much. I needed more than that. And so the next round, I got the right amount to subside the pain. But they say walking does help, even though it's really hard to walk after surgery, especially surgery after that, where those muscles down there are sore. They've been cut through, and it is hard. I'm not saying it's not, but it does help. Sitting and lying down all day, I felt fatigued, and that's when I started to feel my whole body start to ache. But after walking, that was less so. And sleeping while recovering was pretty hard. There weren't many comfortable positions. So I usually slept with a pillow under my legs, or that waffle pillow under my legs. Or I would even put it underneath my butt, because that was the sore part of my body, and that helped a lot. But I always slept on my back, or a little to the side, just to lift up, so I'm not putting a lot of pressure on my butt. So find a comfortable spot for you that helps you, and your body will fall asleep, I guarantee. So my day of my discharge, I took an Uber home, and recovery at home wasn't terrible. I pretty much did the same thing that I was doing in the hospital at home. So a lot of resting, finding a comfortable position to sleep in. But I had more support at home. My sister stayed with me for over a month to help me cook, clean, take care of my daughter. And my fiance was there helping out as well. And even my 7-year-old daughter at the time was helping me out. If I needed something, she'll go grab it. I had a lot of support at home. But again, the hardest part was waking up in the middle of the night and feeling like you were hit by a truck. I'm not even exaggerating. I'm like, what is this? Oh, you feel like a huge rock and you can't move. And right when I would wake up in the middle of the night, I'll grab my 2 oxycodone that was right on my nightstand, pop it in my mouth, sip some water, and I was able to fall back to sleep. That was the only way I was going back to sleep. So I made sure that my oxycodone dose was right before I went to sleep. But always I would wake up in the middle of the night when I felt like my next dose was near. My body would just naturally wake up because my body would feel the pain. And then I'll take my next dose. I think it was every 8 hours. Every 6 to 8 hours, I had to take a dose. And that was totally necessary. Right now is September 12th. So how many months has it been? It's been over 7 months since my surgery. And I'm here sitting on a hard rock, able to walk around in this beautiful park. And I still feel a little sore in my bottom, but my stoma's doing great. And I can't believe I was in so much pain before. So it does get better. It does take a while to recover, but be patient. Your body will recover, and you will be living how you used to live prior to surgery. I would say maybe by the end of the year, I might be, actually maybe even a whole year, maybe in February, I feel like myself again, physically. Because right now I am still sore. I can't sit here for very long, so I will have to walk around soon. I'm in the monitoring phase right now. I'm cancer-free, thanks to my radiation team, my chemotherapy team, my surgical team, my whole oncology team, and support from my family and friends. Much love. So I do not regret getting my proctocolectomy, and I actually had a choice to do it or not. And I was like, let's do it. I will be free from ulcerative colitis. I'll be free from cancer. So I was like, that's a win-win. Let's get it done. so I don't have to worry about flare-ups of my UC anymore, which is amazing. And I don't have cancer anymore, which is also amazing. Please share this video with someone who is going through this experience or has gone through this experience, or if someone is supporting someone who is going through this experience. I would love to build a community where you can come to. We can talk about it. You can ask questions in the comments. I'll answer. You can say hi in the comments. I want everyone to live full, even though we might be going through difficult times, Stay positive, and I see you. And you're stronger than you believe. My next video will be about how I had to call the emergency room a week after my proctocolectomy. And I had to be admitted and stay there for a while. So be sure to come back to watch that video. But until then, I hope everyone is doing well, and I will see you next time.